If you've ever felt this, if you know you are not stupid, maybe even sharper than most people in the room, if you can understand complex ideas, spot logical gaps, read difficult books, and talk for hours about business, markets, psychology, or the future, and yet somehow you are still tired, still anxious, still inconsistent, still lying awake at night with a mind that moves fast, while your life barely moves at all, then don't be too quick to question your intelligence. A lot of people do not lose because they are not smart enough. A lot of people lose because their energy system is leaking. Adrian was exactly that kind of person. He was the type of man people recognized as intelligent almost immediately. Quick reactions, sharp language, a mind like a blade. In meetings, if someone made a weak argument, he could find the crack before anyone else saw it. He read constantly. He understood technology, markets, psychology, and a whole vocabulary of impressive concepts most people only pretended to understand. People around him often said he was going to be successful, but by 36, Adrian's life had not unfolded the way people expected. He was not poor. He was not failing, but he was stuck. He had plans, many plans. He had written notebooks full of them, started projects, made promises to himself, started again, started over. Every new direction began with excitement. Then, after a few days, the energy scattered. Sometimes his phone took it. Sometimes anxiety took it. Sometimes he suddenly questioned whether the thing was worth doing at all. Sometimes he saw someone else doing it better and felt his whole body deflate. The most painful part was that he understood everything. He understood compounding, long-term thinking, attention, discipline, products, markets, human nature, but his life felt like a machine made of expensive parts that kept losing power through hidden cracks. It looked intelligent. It just could not run steadily. That winter, he visited an old man he had not seen in years. His name was Elias. Elias had once been an engineer, then an investor, then the founder of several companies. When he was young, people had spoken his name often. Later, he withdrew from public life and moved to a small town near the mountains. Most people said he had retired after becoming financially free. But Adrian knew that was not quite right. Elias was not merely retired. He was more like an engine with no visible sound. Quiet, but full of depth. His home was simple, no mansion feeling, no objects arranged to prove good taste. Behind the house, there was a small workshop filled with wood, metal pieces, old gears, hand tools, and a half-disassembled mechanical clock. When Adrian arrived, Elias was crouched over the clock. He did not waste time with small talk. He looked at Adrian once and said, "You are not lacking intelligence. Your energy is disordered." Adrian froze. The sentence made him more uncomfortable than any criticism about his ability would have. He was used to people judging his intelligence. Very few people had ever judged his energy. Elias picked up a small gear and placed it in his palm. "Smart people make one very common mistake," he said. "They think life is won by mental processing power. But life is not a sprint. Life is a long-running machine. If the energy keeps leaking, even the finest gears eventually stop." Adrian said nothing, because he knew the sentence had found him. Elias pushed the mechanical clock toward him. "Look at this. One beautiful gear means nothing by itself. The whole system has to mesh. A life is the same. You do not need more concepts. You need the gears that let energy move without scattering." That day, Elias did not hand him a book. He did not give him a motivational speech. He opened the old clock and revealed 6 main gears inside. "Remember this," he said. "Intelligence is only an opening advantage. People who go far are held together by these 6 gears." The first gear was called belief. Adrian almost laughed when he heard the word. It sounded too soft, too motivational, too much like the kind of thing people say when they have no real answer. But Elias did not defend it. He simply asked, "What is the first voice inside you before you begin anything?" Adrian thought about it. Usually it was something like, "Will this work? What if I fail? What will people think? Am I qualified? What if I cannot do it?" Elias nodded. "That is scarcity," he said. "Scarcity is not only the absence of money. Scarcity is the belief that you are never enough, not good enough. not safe enough, not recognized enough, not worthy enough. He said many people spend their lives reaching outward for praise, status, luxury, validation, someone else's permission to feel real. They think they are chasing success, but often they are trying to use the outside world to stop the bleeding of an inner wound. The problem is simple. The outside world cannot fill an inside hole. The more you need the world to prove that you matter, the more you reveal that you do not yet believe you matter. Belief is not blind optimism, Elias said. Belief is the starting point. You first stop treating yourself as empty. Only then does your energy stop leaking outward. Adrian suddenly understood part of his exhaustion. He was not tired only from working. He was tired because before every meaningful action, he was already consuming himself. Doubting before beginning. Imagining failure before moving. Waiting for the world to approve his existence before he had even created anything. For the first time, he saw that belief was not a slogan. It was the act of no longer outsourcing his inner stability to the world. The second gear was called will. Elias placed it into the clock. "What do you want?" he asked. Adrian answered almost automatically. "More money, more influence, more freedom," Elias asked again, and then, "If you had those things, what would you use them for?" Adrian did not answer immediately, because this was the question he often avoided. Many times he wanted success in order to prove he had not lost. He wanted money so he would not be looked down on. He wanted to build something big so that people who had doubted him would be forced to shut up. Elias looked at him and said, "That kind of desire is expensive. Its root is opposition. You are trying to move forward while dragging an army of imaginary enemies behind you." He said that the kind of will that lasts does not begin with, "I want them to regret underestimating me." It begins with, "What problem can I solve?" If your goal only rotates around your own wound, your energy becomes smaller and smaller. But when your goal connects to other people's real needs, the system begins returning energy to you. This was not moral decoration. It was business. It was life. Solve a real problem for 10,000 people, and you will probably not starve. Solve a real problem for 10 million people, and your life naturally moves into a different category. Wealth is not only a trophy you seize by wanting harder, it is often the echo the world sends back after you have delivered value into it. Adrian felt something in him shrink and open at the same time. He realized many of his goals had been small. Not small in number, small in heart. He wanted many things, but he had imagined giving very little. The third gear was called intention. Elias placed it on the table. "You have many ideas," he said, "but you do not keep them engaged long enough to become real." Adrian went quiet. That was true. He had too many ideas. Today, content. Tomorrow, a product. The next day, investing. The next week, AI tools. Each thought appeared bright at first, then faded. His life was not like a river. It was more like a television that kept changing channels. Elias said, "Intention is not a mystical force. It is repetition. It is the willingness to place the same direction back into your mind every day. Not only when you feel inspired, not only when the idea feels new, but steadily, like adding wood to a fire." Many people fail, Elias said, not because they lack vision, but because the vision was never repeated enough for the subconscious to accept it. He took a pen and drew a necklace on a sheet of paper. Vision is the pearl. Intention is the thread. Without the thread, even beautiful pearls scatter everywhere. Adrian looked at the drawing. Now he understood. He did not lack sparks. He lacked the string. The fourth gear was called focus. Elias did not explain immediately. He picked up Adrian's phone and placed it in the center of the table. A moment later, the screen lit up. A message, a news alert, a short video notification. Adrian's hand twitched toward it. Elias watched him. "You see? You think you use it, but much of the time it uses you." He said the greatest war of the modern world is not only a war of information, it is a war for attention. Every platform, every notification, Every carefully designed red dot is trying to cut your energy into pieces. You think you only looked for 5 minutes, but you may have split your mind into 10 fragments. Focus is not teeth-gritting discipline. Focus is the return of scattered energy. Eating means eating, reading means reading, walking means walking. When you do one thing, you do not let the mind keep escaping elsewhere to hunt for stimulation. You think focus is painful, Elias said. That is because you have not truly entered it yet. Once you enter it, the activity itself begins giving energy back. That is flow. Adrian remembered moments like that. Writing until he forgot the time. Breaking down a problem until evening fell. Talking with someone who understood him until dawn. In those moments, he did not need to force himself. The energy had not scattered. His whole being seemed held by an invisible track. He suddenly understood that mediocrity is often not a lack of ability. It is energy that never gathers. The fifth gear was called quality. Elias placed one tiny screw on the table. If this screw loosens, he said, the whole clock slows. Adrian looked at it, unsure where this was going. Elias said many people believe small things do not matter. They think, I will be serious later, when the opportunity is bigger, when the project matters more, when the stage is real. But this is self-deception. The way you treat small things is the way you will treat large things. The way you write an email is the way you build a product. The way you arrange a desk is the way you arrange a company. Carelessness does not disappear because the stakes become higher. It becomes amplified. Quality is not only for other people, Elias said. Quality trains you to become the kind of person who does not betray the details. Adrian felt a little ashamed. He thought of his unfinished drafts, the things he had called good enough, the projects he said were temporary and never returned to polish. He had thought he lacked big opportunities. Maybe many opportunities had never come because the small things had not yet made him trustworthy. The sixth gear was called feedback. Elias placed the final gear into the clock. The machine was not yet moving, but it finally looked whole. Human beings do not run on suffering forever, he said. They need feedback. He said people often misunderstand discipline as war. Force yourself, punish yourself, fight your nature, suppress desire, win by pain. That can work for a while, but eventually, willpower collapses. The better strategy is not to fight human nature. It is to design a system human nature is willing to cooperate with. If you want to run, do not only stare at the body you might have 6 months from now. Learn to notice the lightness after today's run. If you want to read, do not only imagine becoming impressive in the future. Learn to enjoy understanding one more page today. If you want to stay with something long-term, you need to let each small improvement become visible to you. Feedback is not indulgence. Feedback is fuel. Without fuel, even the finest machine stops. Elias finished speaking and gently wound the clock. The gears began to move. One turned another, then another. A small sound filled the workshop. Not loud, steady. Adrian watched the clock and felt as if he was seeing life clearly for the first time. No single gear wins. The system has to engage. Belief is the origin. Will is the direction. Intention is the thread. Focus is the shield. Quality is the foundation. Feedback is the fuel. If belief is weak, energy leaks outward. If will is small, the path shrinks into personal revenge. If intention is weak, every bright idea fades. If focus is broken, noise cuts the mind into pieces. If quality is poor, trust never fully arrives. If feedback is missing, long-term effort dries out. Before Adrian left, Elias handed him the smallest gear from the table. Stop asking whether you are smart enough, he said. That question is too shallow. Adrian looked at him. What should I ask instead? Elias answered, ask whether today's energy was placed in the right place. Adrian did not become perfect after that. He still felt anxious, still got distracted, still wanted to prove himself sometimes, but he began seeing his life differently. He no longer interpreted every delay as evidence that he was not intelligent enough. He started checking the gears. Am I leaking energy outward because I stopped believing? Did my goal shrink back into ego and comparison? Did I forget to repeat the direction until the fire almost went out? Did my phone cut my attention into pieces again? Did I accept good enough when the detail deserved better? Did I forget to give myself real feedback? Slowly, the sound of his life changed. Not a sudden explosion, a steadier turning. Years later, someone asked him what the most important underlying ability in life was. Adrian thought for a moment. Then he said, "It is not being smarter. It is learning how not to leak your energy." This is Otherworld Radio. What carries you far is not only the processing power of the mind, it is whether the 6 gears inside you can engage without tearing each other apart. When your energy stops scattering everywhere, your life stops being a collection of brilliant thoughts and starts becoming a machine that can actually move your fate.